Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. I'm your host, Amanda, and my amazing co host is.
Hello, I'm Megan.
Hey, hey. So, we are your source for messy, imperfect homeschool advice and community. You won't find perfect influencer vibes here. We're just not good at that, even if we tried. And just real talk about homeschooling, parenting, and life. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what the vibe here is, let's just say we have spent the week thoroughly enjoying watching Gavin Newsom troll the pedophile in chief on Twitter. The image of him holding the cat in like a shirtless fireman's uniform or whatever, that's how real men handle it, no grabbing, full consent, has pretty much been the highlight of my week.
Yeah, the trolling has definitely been next level. I'm loving the tweets, right? And I fully understand that Newsom isn't the one actually writing them and crafting them. He's got an excellent team and a really amazing young woman who's like leading that charge. She's doing awesome with it. But I have to say, I'm having a hard time telling what's real and what's AI. There's that epic picture of a truck that's totally decked out in flags and signs that it's like the way Trump supporters do, but it's all with Gavin Newsom's name. And I can't tell if it's real or AI, right? Like I have no idea because like you've got that other one that's like totally, right? There's like Hulk Hogan's Angel and Kid Rock and Tucker Carlson, like weirdly massaging his shoulder. Like, I don't know. It's like weird, but like also definitely AI, right?
Right. Yeah. It is interesting because that one with the truck is I think it is AI, but it's very, very good quality. It doesn't have the hallmarks of kind of the fuzzy, like some of the AI stuff has like the Barbara Walters fuzzy camera lens effect, where it looks like it's been an oil painting or something. And it doesn't have that. But I do love the Hulk Hogan, Kid Rock, Tucker Carlson one. And Kid Rock lost his ever loving mind over that, which makes it even better. So I love it. But I had a cousin who during election season posted one of Jesus massaging Trump's shoulders with this heavenly light behind him. And
Mhm.
and I mean, I didn't unfriend her on Facebook, but she got an unfollow for it. And I was just like, what the actual fuck? So that one holds a special place at my heart just because of the familial connection, as it were. But I'm starting to think that we should start concluding all of our messages that we send out with thank you for your attention to this matter because it's just catching on and I like it.
I mean, I'm not positive that that's something that really needs to catch on. I do think that more trolling needs to happen in this specific case, but I'm not positive that that specifically needs to catch on.
I do enjoy it though. All right. So if you haven't already guessed it, we are a secular and progressive podcast. We host a community that is so very much needed in the homeschool space because it is just a space that is so often overrun by bless your heart and the quiverful crowd and 1 + 1 = Jesus and math curriculum and all of that. And we are just an escape from that here.
I don't know. I mean, this week I was like, "Hey, kid, do you want to paint this wonderful painting of like people riding dinosaurs? Like, it'll be part of our science class." Just kidding. Please read heavy sarcasm if you're new to the podcast. Read heavy sarcasm.
There was a fantastic post the other day in a Facebook group of looking for flat earth curriculum. And you're not in that group, are you, Amanda, the one that was
No,
in?
no, I'm not.
So I made sure to send Amanda all of the comments, not all, but the quality ones that came in that were just like, oh my, it was a serious request. And it was just, and there were some people that were like, this is what gives homeschoolers a bad name. And then there were other people were like, ignore the mocking. They haven't seen the truth yet, but once they do, they won't be able to ignore it. And I was just like, oh my God. So
Well, all I could think about when I was looking at those was there's a video from some guy. He does like comedy things and lip syncing. I don't know exactly what his claim to fame is, but I see his stuff on Instagram sometimes. And he had posted a video where he was flying, and along the ground there was like a dark gray like shadow line that was like quite thick and stretched the whole like width of the picture. They'd taken the picture out of like his airplane window. He's like, "What is this line?" Like, and of course he's expecting people to come back with like really funny and totally bizarre comments. And one of my favorites was something like, "Oh, it's the line so they can fold the earth up when it's the flat earth up when it goes to bed," or something. Oh, yes, flat earth curriculum.
I just saw something not that long ago that said there should be a reality TV show of flat earthers trying to find the edge. And I'm like, that would be quality television. I would watch that all day long.
Yes, that would definitely fall under your train wreck that you couldn't stop watching
Yes,
television.
it would. It would be like The Amazing Race, but train wreck, disastrous style. I would love it.
Oh, no.
Okay. So Newsom's team and their use of AI over the last week or two actually ties in perfectly with our theme for the day. We are going to be talking about AI from the perspective of homeschooling parents. And here's the deal. Neither of us are AI experts. We don't know everything about AI. Honestly, we don't even know most things about AI. But what we do know is that it isn't going anywhere. And as homeschool parents, that raises a big question. What, if anything, should we be doing with it right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it, right? We think about our kids being adults someday, and then you think about the jobs they'll have, the skills they'll need, and it could all look completely different from what we imagine right now. Like, how do you prepare them for a future that is constantly changing in ways that most of us can't even begin to imagine, right? Like, maybe there's some sci-fi writer out there who's totally going to nail it, but most of us, like, we have no idea.
Where's George Orwell when we need him, right? Yeah. It feels like we're teaching them to hit a moving bullseye. It leaves us kind of wondering, should we treat AI like teaching a kid to drive a car, where it's all about learning to use the tool responsibly? Or is this more like handing them a chainsaw? It's powerful, but dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And we're just like, have at it, kids. It's a big question.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that is the $1,000,000 question, right? And I do think that there's a lot of parents out there who are curious, a little nervous, or like me, a lot nervous. But like you said, we know that we can't ignore it. It's not going anywhere. It's been here a long time. It's going to keep progressing, right? So today we're going to just be digging in and seeing where we end up as we kind of talk through this. I say digging in, but really this is a huge topic. So we're going to really just be scratching the surface.
Good point. Yeah, that is true. All right. But first, as per usual, we start every episode with a weekly recap. It's part of our anti influencer attitudes over here. We keep it real, totally real. So, how's your week been, Amanda?
My week has been interesting. I've been talking for a few weeks about I have like the world's longest to-do list and it's not getting shorter. I'm getting a lot of things done, but it's very much not getting shorter, which is like always a little depressing, right? When you're like, I marked off 4 things today, but unfortunately I added 5 more. Ah, just sad when you have to get out a second whiteboard to be able to keep track of what you need to get done. But also, I refuse to erase the things that I finished because I need the motivation of seeing it there with a line through it, showing that I did, in fact, accomplish some things. So, there's that going on. My family went and got COVID boosters this week because there's that whole are you going to be able to get them in the United States moving forward? And what does that look like? And how much will you have to pay out of pocket? And yada, yada, yada. So I will be eligible for a COVID vaccination or booster no matter what because of my health problems. But the people who live with me, not necessarily, depending on whose recommendations and if you're listening to the federal government or the associations, yada, yada, yada. So we've got that going on. The kiddo's a bit under the weather, right? A fever and all of that jazz today, just because that's how he always reacts to it. But it's far easier and faster than when he did actually have COVID. So there's that. So we have that going on. And then if you're listening and you have hit perimenopause, you're going to understand this. I'm having one of those weeks where like, I just really have no patience for people. Now, usually it's aimed at like the people I live with. And I know it like when I wake up and I'm just like, today is not the day. You should avoid talking to me as much as humanly possible because I am not positive that I can like hold my tongue. And I really don't want to say something that's going to cause problems or hurt your feelings or offend you. So, like, you should just not talk to me. Thankfully, it's not one of those weeks. Like, my family is actually really not bothering me that much. But everyone else, I've no fucking patience for anyone. Like, you're a moron. You're an idiot. I can't fucking stand you. And these are my best friends. And the struggle is real. And then I'm having a bunch of hot flashes along with it. Like, I'm just like, I'm unimpressed. And I'm still on my period. I think that's part of the problem, right? It was one of those months where it wasn't as bad as it normally is. So of course it's like twice as long. And I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm over it. Yeah.
So I've had a good month too. Like I've just finished and I was like, where was the day where I thought I was going to need a blood transfusion? So it was a good month in perimenopause land. I was like, all right, what just happened here? I'm not going to second guess it. Watch, I'm going to get a second period this month. That's what's going to happen.
Definitely, Lily. Yeah. Like in another week when you totally shouldn't, it'll be another one. It'll be like, what?
Like dead on the floor that time. Like,
Yep.
damn it, I spoke too soon.
On a day that you need to travel, it'll of course be a day that you need to go somewhere.
Exactly.
Yep, that's the way.
That's what's gonna happen. Let's
Yep.
bet on that one right now.
Yeah, well, that's it. I just, just trying to survive the week without, torching any friendship bridges or business partner bridges. Putting that out there. So what's up in your world?
The usual. I mean, we're just sitting around waiting for visas. Story of my life. It is what it is. My kiddo is on his way home from summer camp right now, which I'm pretty excited about. I won't see him. He's going back to our apartment in Portugal because he still has days left on his visa that he's allowed to be in Portugal. He was in Turkey earlier this year. Now he's been at summer camp. So he's still got a whole bunch of available dates. So he's going back to Portugal. So I won't see him until like another almost 3 weeks, which is so sad. But he'll be home. At least that's different than summer camp where I can't really talk to him. I can at least check in with him and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be good.
The nanny cam and spy on him.
It'd
Be
be
like,
pretty boring. I'm pretty sure it's just sleeping, eating, and going to Pokemon or reading a book. Like these, it's like all that happens. But yeah. So yeah, there's that TV show that I love from Australia called Fisk came out with season 3 this week. If you're a Fisk fan and you watch season 3, I found it a little anticlimactic, but it was a big highlight of my week. The fact that it came out, it was still good. I mean, it's always good, but like, I don't think it was as good as seasons 1 and 2, my own personal opinion. I am on day 6 of no caffeine and my brain feels like there's an ice pick in it. The stress related to our visas and having to leave Portugal and all that stuff, my standard response is to pound caffeine, like at a freakish level, right? I mean, and my ADHD brain is completely unmedicated. So caffeine for me is very calming. I find it very relaxing. And I mean, I can literally, when I take a sip of a caffeinated beverage the first time, I can literally kind of feel this wave that goes from my head down to my toes, like of just like, oh my gosh. And there's this just like relaxation that occurs. And it got to the point though where I was like, this is not okay. We've reached a level that's just not okay here. And so I decided to cold turkey that shit. And my brain hurts. But it's okay.
It was real.
Oh, fuck. I mean, it is like one of the most widely abused drugs in the world. It's bad. So, but I'll survive. It's okay. So, and the only other major life update that I have, speaking of non-influencer vibes, I bought online while we've been in the UK because it's easier to get deliveries here. I was looking for some sort of thigh rubbing solution. They have like that like deodorant stick thing that you can like rub on your thighs so that like,
the like anti-chafing stuff.
Yes, like when you wear a skirt or whatever. So I bought a couple of different things online to try while we've been in the UK. And then I was like, whatever I like, I'll buy more of before we go back to Portugal. So I'm testing out while we record these little like thigh wrap things. They're like, I don't know, like garters, but bigger. They're like 6 inches or whatever. And you put them in like the spot that rubs. And I'm testing them to see if they roll up or roll down because that would be really bad. But they have like silicone strips on the inside. So if anybody else has thigh rub when you wear a skirt in the summer and you're looking for solutions, I'm testing them all. So let me know. Part of my agenda for the week. Really serious business over here. Not like AI destroying the environment or taking over the world. Thigh rub. I've got this covered. All right. So AI. I mean, listen, I was born in the 80s. I grew up believing that we were going to get Rosie, the robotic housemaid from the Jetsons. And I was pretty pumped about never having to do housework or cook. But it turns out artificial intelligence is a lot more complicated than the cartoons led me to believe, which I am shocked about. And I feel really tricked.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I have often thought it would be pretty awesome to have one of those kitchen robot systems that cooks for you. Have you seen those? They're like
No.
thousands and thousands of dollars, but they do exist. They like know what's in your fridge and they can get the ingredients out and actually like cook meals for you. But like now I'm totally wondering about the ethical implications of having like even more robotic help around the house beyond just your like little Roomba, whatever, right? And like just it's so hard because we now know like just how bad AI is for the environment and like frankly the world as a whole. But also the reality is AI isn't new. It has been around for years. It's just that with time and technological advancement, we're seeing the rise of things like ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot, not to mention all of the fake images and videos and things that we were just talking about. We're constantly being bombarded with them on social media.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. So some of the AI functionality that's been in our world for years includes things like spam filters. Thank heavens for spam filters. My inbox is a disaster with spam filters. I can't even imagine without a spam filter. Things like predictive text and autocorrect, search engines ranking pages based upon what it thinks you're looking for, based upon what you put in. Netflix recommending your next show. I live by that thing. Netflix is like, you should watch this. I'm like, okay, Netflix. Totally do it. Yeah, I'm like, well, Netflix told me to. GPS is constantly crunching real-time traffic data. That's why when you're driving and you get that thing where it's like, we found a better route that will save you 3 minutes. It's just constantly looking for ways to get you to your place faster. You've got Siri and Alexa, bank fraud detection that flags suspicious activity. Every time I go to a new country, I trip the bank fraud thing. It's really fun. Do you get that too when you're like, all of a sudden, you're like, I was in San Diego this morning and now I'm in London. And the bank is like,
No, mine is just like, she's never in one place. Don't worry about it. In some ways, it's kind of the opposite problem. Like every once in a while, I need you to be like, did you really jump between 3 continents this week? And I'm like, maybe only two. Anyway.
I trip ours all the time. And because my husband lives and works in another country, I got to call him and be like, can you please tell Citibank that it's me? Because everything, most stuff's in his name and it goes to his phone number and whatever. I'm like, ad targeting, that's AI generated. Programs like Grammarly, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. I mean, there's just so much stuff. It's been around for ages. So it's like, why is it so buzzworthy now?
You mentioned Grammarly, and I am going to say that I find it incredibly frustrating that using Grammarly is now enough to land you in a lot of hot water in a lot of academic situations. So it's that thing, right? As it so often happens, progress actually hurts a lot of people. And it shouldn't be, right? Progress is supposed to be progress. It's supposed to be good for everyone. But that's not the case. And it is also definitely ironic that students can get in big trouble for using Grammarly, but then a lot of companies are now requiring their employees use AI tools like Copilot. Like, how is refusing to allow kids to even use basic Grammarly software in their writing helping prepare them for a corporate world where they're expected to use AI tools on every single thing they do? Like,
Mhm.
I, you know,
I mean, not using AI was one of the main reasons why I quit my last job that I had, was it got to the point where asking questions became unwelcome because every answer was, it's in Copa, it's in and I'm like, right, but the nuance of the situation that I'm dealing with, I'm a customer facing person. So you're going to consistently have different things based upon what customers bring you. And it was to the point where we weren't even allowed to ask questions anymore because it was all in Copilot. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do this anymore.
yeah. No, I mean, totally. But then the flip side of that too is that like Silicon Valley knew more than a decade ago that they needed to start researching universal basic income options because their tech plans for the future eliminates way, way too many jobs. And so, like, how are they going to responsibly address the fact that they removed employment options from the vast majority of people? Like, an aside, it is truly a fascinating thing to read about. Go waste some fresh water and look it up on Google. Yeah.
At least it's a little bit less fresh water than some of the other options. We'll get there. Yikes.
So, yeah. So, yeah, good stuff. I mean, and it is interesting, right? Because there are, like we've said, and we pointed out, there are so many different types. There are the open system, there are the closed systems. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are more quality. I just went to my doctor the other day, a day or two ago now, and I was specifically talking to her about, like, there's a new wave. And so, like, some of my family is getting the COVID booster, and I'm going to wait a little bit longer because I don't need it until like mid-September. I want to see if the new one is actually coming out. What does that look like? And then also, what are we going to do if we do get COVID during this wave? We're having a surge here in California where it's trending up very quickly. And so it's a late summer surge, but it's a surge for us. And then we have some travel stuff planned, which means we're going to be on planes during some surges and things like that. We're just like putting all of the pieces in place. And I'm like, I still have Paxlovid, but I just learned, because no one else told me, and I randomly found it on a Facebook group, that one of my medications is contraindicated with Paxlovid. So I'm like, well, what are my other options? And she was like, well, there are no other options where we are right now. There's like, they've eliminated access to all of the other things. So it's Paxlovid or nothing. And she's like, I really think in your case, you need to do the Paxlovid if you actually end up with COVID. But like, we can't be rolling the dice on that. So let's just double check like what we need to do to be able to do that. And I'm like, yeah, I need to know, like, say I'm in Indonesia when this happens or whatever. Like, I need to know how many days I need to be off my other medication before I can start the Paxlovid and what all that looks like. And she just pulls up some internal medical AI thing and types the question in and waits for it to analyze the data. And I'm like, I know how often AI is wrong when I search things. Are we going to double check that? Because like, it's kind of my health here. Like, I mean, it's everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think considering it is everywhere, how do we as homeschool parents, how are we preparing our kids for a world where AI is developing and infiltrating at the speed of light? And I think it's a really challenging question. I know because my kiddo is part of one of those like umbrella type school programs in California. I just found out that he has access to, I think it's called Magic School, which is a closed AI system that's for elementary kids. And it's supposed to be, like super protected and their info's not going to get out and yada, yada, yada. And they have a little course you can take on how to responsibly use it. And then we watched a seminar, like a lecture kind of thing together on ways to use it and things to do. And I'm really not pro this kind of AI. It's something I really struggle with. So then I'm thinking like, well, do I have him go ahead and do this like certification process? It's supposed to teach them how to responsibly use it and what it can do and all of these kinds of things. And he's very much enjoying, he was messing with it. There was like a prompt set up to be able to talk with like, I don't know, some character, Bluey or something like that. And it's like they were supposed to talk to you back and forth in that character, in that voice. And so then he kept trying to ask them about the Hunger Games because that's what he's been reading. And it just kept saying, oh, that's a little advanced for you. Like, let's get back to talking about Mike. And then he'd ask specific things. And again, it would be like, well, I can tell you're really interested in the Hunger Games, but I have to say that's for a little bit older audience. Let's talk about. I just like really enjoyed messing with it. And he was just having fun. And then I'm sitting here cringing every time thinking like, there goes a cup of water. There goes a cup of water. It's, struggle is real.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't really know how we prepare our kids because I think I don't know enough about how it's going to be used. There's an ad that I keep seeing in my social media news feed that's like, if you're still using Chat GPT like Google on steroids, you are missing the ship. There's a million and one things that it can do. It should be automating your entire existence. It should be saving you time and money and this and that, right? And it can do this, and it pops up all these different things on the screen that are flashbulb examples of things that it should be touching in your life. And I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin using it for all that kind of stuff. But that's the world our kids are going to move into. And so then if we have these kids who are living in that world, but they're Amish because they refuse to impact the environment negatively, can they function in the world? Can they get jobs? I can't even visualize what it's going to look like. So how do you begin to prepare them? I mean, my kids will use certain AI tools and things like that. I don't think they're using them a ton, but what it looks like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, right? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, even a year from now, right? Even
Yeah.
from the time that we're recording right now, because it is changing so fast. I mean, you mentioned that all the different ways. This summer, just a month ago, I attended a Mensa conference that was specifically for AI in gifted education and helping gifted kids. And the person who was giving the presentation was talking about the different AI and how you use them differently for different things. And it was ChatGPT, like we all know. And then there was Claude. And then there were a couple others. And it was like, oh, this one is from this country and this one is from this country. And, this one is better for this and this one is better for that. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know there were so many to try and keep track of. Like, I don't want to use any of them. And now I'm supposed to keep track of which one to use for which kind of thing. Like,
Yeah. It is so complicated, right?
uh-huh.
I mean, so I guess the best thing we can do is give our kids flexibility and adaptability so that they can roll with this stuff as it comes. I mean, it seems like skills that might be AI proof, if you will, things like creativity, emotional intelligence, leadership, ethical reasoning, physical hands-on skills. I don't know. In some cases, we're going to talk in a little bit about some studies and jobs that may or may not be impacted, kind of the likelihood of, and quite a few of them are physical hands-on skills, but then some others that are also physical hands-on skills are affected. So I don't know. And it's interesting because a couple of things that my kids have been interested in are on the most likely to be impacted by AI. So you're like, okay, well, now what? Because I've been homeschooling for all these years leading up to a future that now has changed very drastically.
Yeah, I worry about creativity, right? Like, and most artists worry about creativity because AI is really working to scoop up lots of art so that it can do it. There was, right, some popular band on a top 20 list or whatever that's like completely AI, like the
Yeah.
first one that's like 100, like that's a pretty bizarre situation to find yourself in. And, I mean, I think one of the things that is going to become more and more prevalent as we move forward will be this idea that you have to do things that you like. And maybe there will be less of a focus on like, do the work you love and then you'll never work a day in your life because, well, frankly, you don't really get to work to make money for the most part. So, like do the things you love and that life becomes more about hobbies versus a job in the not too distant future at the rate that AI is going. I've already got surgeries being done by robots. We've both been to restaurants where they serve the food. You put the order in on the tablet and then a robot comes out with your food. Maybe there was someone in the back loading it up, but it could have been the robotic kitchen arm that took it out and put it there.
I'm laughing because we got yelled at by a robot that served our food at the airport one time because we were so enamored by the robot. And I was like busy taking pictures of the robot and all this kind of stuff. And the kids were getting the trays off the robot and whatnot. And she started to get really pissy that we were taking, it's like, get your trays, hurry up. And we were like, and it wasn't that crowded. It wasn't like, but she was like, stop fucking around. Take your trays. I got other things to do. And I was like,
So you're not going to be able to
lost the
avoid them.
magic of the experience, you know?
But be able to avoid the attitude, like robots are AI is gonna bring the bitchy attitude as well, so service isn't necessarily gonna get better.
I know. We have a robot that runs around at El Corte Inglés in Portugal that runs around and cleans the floors and stuff like that and like detects spills and does all kinds of stuff in the supermarket. When I see it running around, I'm kind of like, okay, there it goes.
But again, I think so much of it is gonna come down to that, like, making sure that you're really helping kids develop resilience and adaptability. And there are lots of ways to do that. For us, one of the best ways that I have found is travel. That's one of the things that I do really like about travel is that it forces my kiddo to get used to and comfortable with the fact that things don't go the way that you always planned. Changes happen. Stuff isn't the way it was supposed to be. It's not always easy and convenient and comfortable. And you just have to be able to roll with that. But it's a hard skill to teach, especially just, at home and with your normal stuff. And then once you add in neuro differences and things like that, it can become even harder. And so, what exactly does that look like? And how are we doing that?
And we don't know, right? I mean, this is like you said, this is kind of scratching the surface of this conversation. This is our kind of our first kickoff conversation on the topic. Our book club begins in a couple of weeks. If you're listening to this in real time, it starts in about 3 weeks. And our first book is called, I actually have it right here. Our first book is called Brave New Words: How AI Will Revolutionize Education. And then in parentheses, it says, and why that's a good thing. Now, it was written by Salman Khan, who's the Khan Academy guy. So he's a tech guy. It's not really surprising that he would be like, hooray, AI. And then we've got a quote on the cover by Bill Gates, also not surprising, a timely masterclass for anyone interested in the future of learning. It's
It's
the
a
book we're going to
little,
be reading. And I'm hoping that our book club discussion on this book kind of helps us dig into some of these, like, what do we do and how do we do it kind of conversations, because yeah, I mean, it'll be a whole bunch of us coming together and kind of sharing our thoughts and our experiences and our input and kind of trying to come up with the best way forward as homeschool parents for preparing our kids for this world that they're going to launch into, and even just the world that they're in right now as far as learning and utilizing AI tools or not utilizing AI tools, and if so, how, and ethically, and yada, 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 all of that. So I'm excited to dig in. I think it's a good book. We're going to be on it for quite a few weeks and having real time discussion on Zoom about it. So I'm pretty pumped. If you'd like to join us, if you're super pro AI, if you're super anti AI, if you're like, what the heck is AI? I've just heard of Chat GPT, like whatever, come and join us, because the more perspectives we can bring together in book club, I think, and the more knowledge sets, the better we'll all grow and learn from coming together. So we'll link how to join book club in the show notes. And we'll pop a coupon code there as well that you can use for 90% off your first month to come and join us. There's different ways you can join book club. It ranges between $8 and $20 a month, depending on how many goodies you want to add on to your membership in addition to book club. But if you'd like to just join book club, come do that. And we've got a free tier over on Patreon as well. So if you're like, I can't join a book club right now, I'm barely getting my homeschool year up off the ground, and the world is a dumpster fire and I just can't take on something else right now, that's fine. Come follow us. It's free. Amanda puts out a newsletter. You don't even need a Patreon account to follow us. So we'll link that in the show notes as well. And you can come follow us for updates and things like that. And we'll put out a couple of kind of little snippet episodes with highlights from book club. So if you don't have the opportunity to join us this time, you can still kind of tune in wherever you listen to the podcast and catch up on whatever we've been discussing.
well, yeah. And one of the things I was going to say when you were kind of reading the quotes off the front of the book is I don't know about Sal Khan, but I know Bill Gates was kind of famously vocal about how much he didn't allow his kids to be on screens and how much he limited technology, even though he worked in the tech sector, or maybe because he did. And that's kind of a thing. There's a lot of stuff around how much the real leaders in Silicon Valley limit their kids' access to technology. And so I do think it'll be interesting to see exactly what they're saying, especially if Bill Gates is saying it's a masterclass on learning and education with AI. What exactly does that mean or look like? So yeah, it'll be interesting. And it's that, if you haven't already picked it up from the show, I'm not pro chat GPT and those kinds of things. And I have some real concerns about it. So I'm definitely curious to see what they say and where they see the benefits and which ways. Because whether I like it or not, I already use AI in a wide variety of ways. It's embedded in our lives. I 100% use driving directions and I'm not still printing them off MapQuest. So there's no completely avoiding it, but how am I going to do it responsibly and in what ways are we going to? And I'm hoping we get some stuff out of it. All right.
Mhm.
So
We should add also before we jump back into our topic that if you'd like to join book club, but you're like, I have no time or energy to read this book, but I'd like to hear the conversation, you can do that too.
yeah.
You're totally welcome to show up. We will never judge you for showing up to book club and being like, I haven't read the book. So come
Yeah.
join us, be a fly on the wall, join the conversation, whatever suits you suits us.
Yeah. Reading not required. All right. So before that little bit, we were talking about the uncertainty of jobs in the future as a result of the rise of AI. And so Microsoft, speaking of Bill Gates, recently published a study about careers that are the most likely and least likely to be affected by AI. So Fortune magazine recapped the results and added some analysis, including this quote. It said, overall, the jobs most exposed are ones that involve knowledge work, like people doing computer, math, or administrative work in an office, the researchers wrote. Sales jobs are also high on the list since they often involve sharing and explaining information. They went on to say that, quote, still business leaders like NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang have said that every job will be touched by AI in some way. And so it's best to embrace it. He said, quote, every job will be affected and immediately. It is unquestionable. So, yeah, I have thoughts. I have concerns. I mean, how many times have you Googled something and that stupid AI overview that pops up first is 100% wrong, completely inaccurate, sends you on a wild goose chase for something that does not exist? And that's because I question it, I doubt it. And I'm like, let me go find that. Or I've asked it, like, can I have a specific book that's a young adult novel about, the Cuban Missile Crisis in the style of these authors that I like? And it's like, yes, there's this excellent book. And then you go look for it. And it's like, well, that author does write books. And there is a title that's called that. And there is a thing. It happens to be a movie, not a book, but there is a thing that's this specific plot. Unfortunately, none of those three things actually connect in the way that
Yeah.
I made it connect, So like, if we're going to be turning all of our knowledge work over, what's that looking like?
Well, so yeah, I agree. And I've had that situation before where I've asked it for, documentary recommendations and it says, check this and this. And I Google them and they're nowhere to be found. So you're not alone. I find that it's accurate more often than not. So that's good in my estimation. But
We're searching different things because I never get accurate responses. I'm like, maybe 20% of the time is it actually fully accurate in the things that I use, which is why I'm just like, I'm done.
oh yeah, I have it. It's typically better than it's not for me. I do use AI sometimes for kind of frivolous things, but it's like it takes things off my plate. So, for example, like if we're in a new city, my daughter and I love to go vintage shopping. So I'll pull up a blog that's like best vintage shops in whatever city we're in. And then we'll kind of look through them and see which ones we like and whatnot. And then I'll take a list of the shops that we want to go to and punch it into AI and say, okay, here's our starting point and our ending point. We need public transportation. I need you to pay attention to opening and closing times. And I need you to map this for me in the most effective way. It would take me forever to like manually go through and map all that stuff. And 9 times out of 10, it does a bang up job. The one thing that I have had to check is that it doesn't do great with the opening and closing hours sometimes. And then you're like, oh, but it doesn't tell you that. But generally speaking, I feel like with that kind of stuff, it does Even sightseeing, if you're like in a city and you're like, I only have one day in this city and I want to do these 5 things or whatever. Okay, great. But the interesting thing is, like, to your point about it being inaccurate, is the scary part slash benefit of is that it's getting smarter every time we search, right? Because it's sucking all of our smartness out of our brains and then it's making itself smarter. So in theory, that efficacy should get better, but you have to know to check it still in the meantime so that you're not spouting off things like, stuff related to the Civil War and the Declaration of Independence at the same time, which I'm not suggesting the president was using AI when he recently did that. He's just an idiot. But you could see where stuff like that would happen and people would be like, well, Google told me that this is the thing and it's definitely not the thing.
Or, I mean, you've got all these people out there talking about once you learn the real truth, you'll understand the earth is flat. Like, I don't need AI assimilating that and being like, oh, yes, actually, the earth is flat. Like, don't ignore that part. Okay, going back to that Fortune article that we were talking about. So it has this other quote. It goes on to say many of the jobs with high chances of getting upended by AI soon, like political scientists, journalists, and management analysts, are all ones that typically require a 4-year degree to land a job. And as the researchers point out, having a degree, which was once considered a surefire path to career advancement, is no longer a safeguard against the changing tides. And for me, I feel like this kind of goes into a bigger conversation that we have here on the podcast and that we just have in the world in general, because there's also that other meme that's going around right now, or I don't know, maybe it's just a repost of someone's status and that doesn't qualify as a meme. I don't really understand. I'm too old these days. But it talks about the fact that it's the liberal arts degree people who others are always like, oh, what are you ever going to do with that degree? The English lit majors, the history and political science majors, the journalism majors. They're the ones that right now, in this moment in time, are like, y'all, we got a problem. History is repeating itself. We need to fight this. It's the liberal arts degree people. And I don't know. I mean, frankly, I don't see that role or that need changing as AI takes over.
That is a very solid point. All right. So you referenced jobs. I found this list really, really interesting. I didn't really know what to expect, and yet somehow I was still surprised by it. So go figure. So the jobs that Microsoft determined would be the least affected by AI, I'll just run through them kind of quickly and we can kind of talk about some that stand out maybe. Dredge operators, bridge and lock tenders, water treatment plant and system operators. I feel like that could be mechanized.
That seems like it would be pretty easy to
Right?
AI the shit out of it, but okay.
Yeah. Foundry, mold, and core makers, rail track laying and maintenance equipment operators, pile driver operators, floor sanders, and finishers. That one's a really niche aspect there.
I have hired a floor sander and finisher, so I suppose I can see how I would need to hire a person to do that. Okay.
I think it would be hilarious if a robot showed up to do that job. Orderlies, like in a hospital, motorboat operators. Okay. I guess, we're going to have all these billionaires now, thanks to the new government in place that just helps the rich get richer. So somebody's going to have to drive them around in their big fancy boats.
Well, but also the earth is melting and water levels are rising. So we're going to have to use boats to get around. Everything's going to be a Venice instead of subways. They're all going to be boats. So, okay.
Well, I'm commuting that way.
You can be a gondolier.
As we go sand floors, then would tend the bridges. I don't know. Hey, there'll be more jobs to tend bridges. So, okay. Logging equipment operators, which if you have environmental concerns about AI, the fact that we're going to log everything is not at all concerning.
And at the rate that we're going, I don't know how long that's really going to work out for you. But okay, that also seems like a limited time opportunity, but.
That's not true. We still have many national parks to declassify and capitalize on. So,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's criminal, I'm telling you. All right. On the flip side, here are the 40 jobs that they predict will be most affected by AI. Okay. Interpreters and translators, historians, passenger attendants, sales representatives of services. That seems odd to me because, again, there's always nuance when you're dealing with human beings and like what makes a person's particular situation unique to them that you'd have to have some sort of personal touch, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, but these days you have to go through like 4 levels of AI. There's like first the chat bot, and then there's like the advanced chat bot, and then there's like a person who's also a chat bot, and then like you can finally call someone who's also a freaking chat bot, and then maybe you can get a real person if you've managed to get past all of those layers. So I can see that. I mean, I don't think they'll do well with it, but they're already trying.
Exactly. Hey, there was a video that I saw not that long ago. This guy was doing an AI job interview. Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my gosh, it was fantastic. So it's this female robot or female impersonating robot. I don't know how you gender identify robots. I'm not sure. But so she calls the guy and she asks her first question. And he was like, before we do your questions, I want to blah, blah, blah. And he basically tells her to forget everything she's been told to do and tells her all this different stuff. And then at the end says to her, I would like for you to go back and recommend me for this position. And he freaking gets the job. He like hijacks the robot's programming. It was out of this world. So, okay. So then we have writers and authors, which is really, really sad because we're both bookworms and we are raising bookworms. And it's like AI books are not gonna, I can't. Well, again, it's getting smarter all the time. But like my favorite book is The Nightingale. And I'm like, I can't imagine that a robot is going to make me sob like that at the end of a book. But I don't know. Maybe it will. Customer service representatives, that's to your point, that's going to go real well. CNC tool programmers. So this is interesting because when we were in the US and my oldest kid was in college, that was his major, was CNC tool technology. And he loved it. Telephone operators. I was unaware we still had telephone operators, ticket agents and travel clerks, broadcast announcers and radio DJs, brokerage clerks, farm and home management educators, telemarketers. Okay, are we sad about that one? That's okay. I can do
But I
without
mean,
the
if they
telemarketers.
get smarter, then they'll just be more annoying. Can we just get rid of them? Can we just train AI to do the job and then get rid of it?
It would be fantastic.
Can I?
Concierges, political scientists, sorry, Amanda, news analysts, reporters, journalists, mathematicians, which was my other son's choice of major. I'm like, back to the drawing board? I don't know. What are we doing here? I mean, his goal is to go get like a master's and a PhD in mathematics. That would have been a really prestigious thing to do. Is it going to be in 10 years or is it going to be like, wow, what a waste of money that you just spent all this time and energy doing that when robots can calculate it faster than you can still? I don't know. Technical writers, proofreaders and copy makers, editors, business teachers, public relations specialists, demonstrators and product promoters, advertising sales agents, new account clerks, statistical assistants, counter and rental clerks, data scientists, personal and financial advisors, archivists, economics teachers, web developers, management analysts, geographers, models. Models is an interesting one. I saw, where were we? I think we were in a Zara somewhere, or, oh no, it was the store that we went into when we were in Prague. And they had this huge digital billboard. It was like an LED billboard, basically. So it was really bright and it had great resolution, which wasn't amazing because it was clearly an AI image. And the lady had all kinds of funky stuff going on with her skin that I was just like, somebody approved that. So that's interesting for models. Market research analysts, public safety, switchboard operators, library science teachers. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. It's so interesting though, because like coding comes up and for the whole time I've been homeschooling my kids for the last decade, it was like every kid should learn to code. This is the wave of the future. And now a robot will do it better and faster, supposedly.
Well, I mean, they're already, right? Like there's, like for the last couple of years, every year there's a new article, a new research study, a new something out about how all of these young people are losing their jobs because they were promised forever programming jobs and now they're gone. I don't, and I mean, it's that maybe people who are really good at these things become kind of like luxury goods. right? Like the prestigious mathematicians and the historians and, that kind of stuff. Like you have the people and then you have like what's available to the masses, and that's all like run by AI. I don't know. I can't even begin to imagine what it's actually going to look like.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've kind of touched on it, but there's the environmental impact of all of this. So, just a quick rundown, you have newer AI tools use much more than a typical Google search. So, experts say one chat GPT query uses roughly 10 times more electricity than a Google search. A single chat GPT prompt uses around 0.34 watt hours of electricity. And to put that in everyday terms, that's the same as running an oven for 1 second or letting a high efficiency LED light bulb burn for a couple of minutes, which doesn't seem like a huge amount. But when has anyone ever put one query into ChatGPT and then walked away? That's not how you use it. I mean, it even asks you, do you want more? Do you want me to this? Do you want me to that? Like for Chat GPT specifically, one source estimates every query takes between zero point 0.3 milliliters up to 10 milliliters of water per query. So again, it's a very small amount, but it adds up quickly when it's used millions of times a day. Now, I will say I found this interesting because the internet is full of claims that it's much more. And I found some research and claims that went up to it could be a max of 200 milliliters of water. But what I found extra interesting was that there's a thing about it being like half a liter of water, and that's like all over the internet. But
Mhm.
it's not right. Like it comes from a study and it's completely misquoting that study. The lowest estimates, the zero point 0.3 milliliters, those come from the people who do AI. So I mean, like, of course, all right, sure. Yeah, it's great. It's no problem. Not a thing. Like not even a milliliter. It's fine. I have a little less trust there. But also those really big numbers, there does not seem to be, and I went down the research rabbit hole. There does not seem to be any research that actually supports those really big numbers that you're seeing in places, which I thought was interesting. And I'm not really sure how that number got out there and like ran away. But that said, here's a really shocking example. In 2021, Google's data centers, like we're not even talking current ChatGPT usage. In 2021, Google's data centers in the United States alone used an estimated 12.7 billion liters of fresh water. And that comes from a University of California, Riverside research study. And so then more broadly, data centers supporting AI worldwide currently consume hundreds of millions of gallons of water annually. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's happening, especially in areas struggling to access fresh, clean, safe water. So, yeah, go ahead.
God, right? It's just not good. I mean, well, and then I'm thinking while you're reading off all these stats, did you see the interview where Sam Altman, the guy who created ChatGPT or runs ChatGPT or whatever,
Who says
he was
0.3
talking about,
milliliters?
yeah, well, but he was talking about how many millions of dollars it's costing them because after people search and ChatGPT gives them the answer, they'll say thank you. And then ChatGPT says, you're welcome. And so I'm thinking everything that you just read, like that alone, just the pleases and thank yous. Right. And, and he was talking about it from a financial impact. Now, granted, the guy has more money than any of us will probably ever be able to count. So he was like, I really don't mind the loss of money because we're creating a politer world. But then I'm thinking about it from a water perspective and I'm like, stop saying thank you to the robots.
I mean, that's a great point, right? And a water and an electricity perspective,
Yeah.
because like I said, I went down the research rabbit hole. So the UC Riverside thing, those researchers, one of their big things that they came out with was that like, we need to do a better job of using solar power, solar energy for the electrical needs. And we need to do a better job of saving the power and finding a way to like bank the power to cool things down when necessary instead of right at that time, and doing just being more efficient with the resources, because you can't tell people like, hey, don't use AI tools during the heat of the day because, it's a little much on the system and it costs more. But then based on your story about Sam Altman, like on the one hand, I want to just go in and be like, please do this. Thank you so much. Please, I really appreciate you. Just burn through his money. But also I do not want to destroy the environment just to burn through his money because he's not going to give enough of it to fix anything. So, yes, billionaires.
Well, that's it, right? And I mean, we certainly don't have the answers for all of this. We said that from the start. But if you're going to be a person who's going to be this person who avoids AI as much as humanly possible on principle, it kind of feels like being somebody who's sitting there drinking their drink out of a soggy paper straw while we have the Sam Altmans and the Starbucks CEOs of the world using their private jets like we use a bicycle or a taxi or a city bus or the metro. They're like flitting around all over the place with a carbon footprint that's massive. And there I am with my lousy paper straw being like, but the turtles, I mean, it's just like, it's not even putting a dent in it, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true, but like I am that person. I bought paper straws and
Yeah.
carried them in my own little container because my kiddo loves a straw. And I'm like, if we can't get paper straws, I'll bring my own paper straws. Like we travel with paper straws. We always have them. I loved when we were in Denmark. They have amazing paper lids on their cups instead of plastic lids. I was
Yep.
like, why can we not figure this out in the United States? I'm all for that kind of stuff. But also it does really piss me off. Like in California, like we have to be careful with our water usage and you can't have fountains and you can't have this kind of grass. And you can't have all of these things. And I'm fine with that. I want to do my part and make the world a better place. But the flip side is like the avocado and almond farmers have like 70% of the water in the state allocated to them. All of the rest of the industries and all of the rest of the individual people like doing all of these little things is like barely going to make a dent compared to what they could do. And so, yeah, I mean, it's complicated.
We're house sitting this weekend next week. And the lady had said before she left, would you mind just watering the garden every day? And I said, okay, are there times, like, is there a time slot that you have to water the garden? Because in Florida, that's a thing. You can only use your hose between this hour and this hour in the morning and this hour and this hour, like during the cooler parts of the day and whatever. She looked at me like I was bananas. And I was like, okay, it's England. There's a lot of water here. It rains constantly. Like where I lived, we do have a rainy season, but then it doesn't rain the entire rest of the year. So we have water time slots. I thought it was a valid question. But yeah, not here.
Yep.
Here you can just water your garden.
Go
Oh
figure.
my goodness.
All right. So, yeah, we hope you'll join us for book club so we can really have a much more thorough discussion and kind of like brainstorming and knowledge sharing and all of that stuff because we will be talking more about this. We're going to be talking specifically about how do we model responsible use of AI in our own work and daily life. And should AI be introduced in homeschool the way we introduce other tech? Is it carefully with guidance? Are you starting small? Are you just saying, here's a cool tool, play with it and figure it out? What are we doing? What do we want our kids to know about AI before they graduate? Not just the how, but the why and the when. AI has to become part of our digital citizenship that we are teaching our kiddos before they go out in the world. And we need to be doing it now. We've talked about it. AI is everywhere. We need to be teaching them that as part of digital citizenship. But what does that look like and how are we doing it? None of us were taught that. So, this is like, and this goes beyond the like, well, we weren't really taught puberty, but we're teaching it now. Like, but we, like, puberty was a thing. We might not have been taught it well, but it was a thing when we were growing up. Like AI was not a thing when we were growing up. Like how do we teach this? Do we feel the pressure to prepare them for a world that we don't fully understand? Or is it okay to say, I'll help you learn, or, I'll help you learn how to keep learning, or we'll learn together. Let's take this course together. What recommendations do people have? I just think, yeah, we have so much to talk about. And I'm
So
really
much.
looking forward to hearing what other people have to share in book club.
So, yeah, that's it. I mean, and we didn't expect to come into this episode solving all of the AI unknowns or ethical issues today. It was more about just kind of opening this conversation and realizing that AI is just like so many other things in homeschool. We don't need to be experts to guide our kids, but we need to be curious alongside them. We need to read books like this. We need to have these kinds of conversations, figure out how we're modeling it, to your point, all of that good stuff. I haven't read our book club pick yet for book club. I'm going to read it in real time along with, I think Amanda's doing the same, but I predict that we'll spend a lot of time in our meetings discussing preparing our kids for an uncertain future and determining ways to help them grow into adaptable, ethical people who can thrive no matter what the future looks like. Here's hoping, right? That's the goal, I think.
Yeah.
So we will leave you with a mantra for today, which is we don't have to predict the future to prepare our kids for it. By modeling curiosity, adaptability, and integrity, we give them the tools to thrive, no matter how AI reshapes the world around them. I'm not sure if that's so much a mantra or wishful thinking, but I'm gonna roll with it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's it. We'll put it up on our Instagram and just look at it and hope.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us today. We'd love to hear what you think. And in the meantime, friends, happy homeschooling.
Yeah. Have a great one.